how qualifying your clients the right way to maximize the results. Hi, this is Patrick Herran, and I'm with Kay Somji today, founder of ICreateConsultants, and welcome to the Client Success Secrets Show Interview Edition. The Client Success Secret of the day today is how qualifying your clients the right way to maximize the results. And Kay is right here with me, so would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about this important topic?
Thank you for having me, Patrick. Really excited to be on the show. And for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Kay Somji, founder of ICreateConsultants, where we help coaches, consultants, and info product creators scale their businesses, generate more leads, book more calls, close more deals. We help them do all that. And it's a very interesting topic that we're going to be going back and forth on today, because a lot of people can make sales, but very few people prioritize their client results and really get amazing client results. And sometimes it's down to the coach, sometimes it's down to the client, but we're going to go back and forth on a few different ways that we can maximize those client results. Some things that I've done in my own business as well as over the last several years to really help clients get way better results. And qualification comes at the heart of it, definitely.
That is wonderful. Before we get into my first question, I would like to remind everyone that this Client Success Secrets show is meant for two types of people. First is those entrepreneurs who are struggling online. You are taking coaching programs and online courses, but you don't finish them. There's always something that stops you. So you put your money and trust into something that you really wanted to do, but it didn't work out the way you wanted. The second type of person that must be watching the show is those coaches and marketing experts who run these online courses and group coaching programs, that they have a lot of clients who don't finish their programs. And when it comes to the qualifications, I think there is a very big point in here, because the more you qualify your client, the more you qualify them for success. And there's a big difference that I would like to clarify between qualifying someone as, are they the person who are going to buy, versus are they the person who are going to get results, right? And my first question for Kay is, how is your qualifying process different from what mainstream marketing is teaching?
Yeah, so mainstream marketing, and something I've been guilty of in the past, is pretty much anybody who can afford it is qualified. Anybody who can afford it is willing to spend the money. And then the next level, deeper than that, is pretty much anybody who can afford it and is also intent qualified. So they actually want to do the thing, not just having the funds, but they actually are intent qualified as well. And with all that, we would like to take it a step further. And the way I look about business is I look at it like a leaky bucket. So there's been times where we brought on wrong clients. There's times where we brought on people that haven't completed things and haven't had the success we had hoped. And so I just try and look at data and feedback from it. That's really all business is, in my eyes, is looking at data and feedback. So I thought, how can we qualify it differently? So obviously, I want to attract the right type of prospects, which is what we're doing now and what we've done for a long time. So intent qualified, budget qualified, and also people that are going to be pleasant to work with, people that are actually going to do the work and subsequently get the results. And so if we think about this in an analogy, just because somebody, let's use fitness for example, let's say somebody has some weight to lose. Let's say they're budget qualified, they have the money to pay the personal trainer. Let's say they're intent qualified, they say, hey, I want to lose some weight, but they don't actually get to the gym. It doesn't matter how good the coach is, the personal trainer, doesn't matter how good the workout program is, doesn't matter how good the diet plan is, if the person doesn't show up. So we have to also qualify them by their behaviors as well. And I think that's actually very ethical, because sure, we can just sit here and collect money from a bunch of people and be happy. But at the end of the day, we actually want to get results for our clients and make a difference. So if we're doing that, what I like to do is qualify at different levels. So there is the budget qualification, there is the intent qualification, but there's also qualification through content, through video marketing, through our marketing assets. And to give some examples of that, Patrick, if I have certain content that speaks to people, as I do now, my content is very much about, hey, you have to do the work. Hey, you have to put in volume. Hey, you have to build something really amazing. You have to be a student of marketing. you have to be consistent. If people are not willing to do that, they're not going to be turned on by my message. They're going to be turned off by my message. And subsequently, we're not going to attract those people. So the people that we do get from social media coming to the next step, which is kind of the middle of the funnel, either our VSL funnel or Facebook groups or in our DMs, are people that already resonate with that surface level message. Then when they come from there, we qualify even further through our video assets, our sales assets, our pre-call frameworks. So by the time they get to the call, they are qualified in terms of they're willing to do the work. They're qualified in terms of they like our processes. Because if somebody's willing to do the work, but they don't want to do our process, you can force a horse to water. You can't force it to drink. Well, maybe you can, but that's a topic for another day. But we want to get the people who are on board with our thing. So whether that's budget and intent, and they like what we do, and they like, me or our team as people as well, we want to get all of those things. So from the social media side to the middle of funnel, even down to the booking intake form where we're asking questions to qualify, we're not just doing this so we can collect more money. That's a nice part of the game. But we're doing this so the wrong people, the people who are not going to get the best results, the people who are not an ideal fit, they actually exclude themselves. And it's not from an arrogant point of view of some people say, hey, they weed themselves out, they're not a fit. It's, hey, if something else is going to be more suitable for them, they can realize, hey, I like Kay, but not super on board with the way he does things. I'm going to go look at something else. And that may work better for them. And that's completely fine. So that's how we qualify at different levels. We have surface level qualification, a bit deeper qualification, and then even more qualification before somebody comes to the call so we can help them best make that purchasing decision.
That's so detailed. You're doing some epic teaching right here. You know what I really like about your process, the way you described that, I'm sure you're aware of this, is that you are so intentional with your content and your lead generation system that, you're not really doing so much manual qualification. Something that really turns me off, and I used to do myself, honestly, you know how it is. We learn all the bad stuff from the experts. That is that you get into a private message conversation and you start asking the questions like, what are you struggling with? And then how long have you been trying to fix this? And then you even try to even sort of figure out if they have the money to do that. It's super, super awkward, super natural. But
yeah,
the way you're telling me now is that it looks like a lot of things are taken care of by the content, which I think it's extremely, extremely important, not only for, the ethical aspect of it, but also, practicality. I think that when you say that you help businesses at scale, this is what you mean too, right? Not so much like one-on-one and manual and so tedious, right?
it's a good point because I do agree with the manual qualification in conversations and things like that, but there's a time and a place for it. So there's no need for me asking the exact same thing to people if they can get that through my content. And so most of the time when people reach out to us and they're ready to work with us, they already align with all those values anyway. So we still do qualify, but we have a lot of that qualification automated. And in certain situations where we need to qualify one-on-one like that, absolutely we will. But one of the downsides to it is it doesn't really allow you to scale. So if you just put a form in front of people and ask them, what are you struggling with? What do you need help with? What's your goal? If I've never met you before or somebody's never met me, they're not going to answer those things. It's just weird. But if they've consumed 10, 15, 20 hours of my content, they're going to be way more comfortable answering those things openly and honestly. And that's how you get honest answers from people. And then doing that at scale, you can actually have hundreds or thousands of people at a time viewing your content, coming through those things, and then also lightly nurturing. There's no need to say, hey, I have to make the sale today. The sale's won in the long term. So you can also have the nurture and the qualification done in email sequences, in text messages, in DMs, in content, in stories. All these things, you kind of want to bake them into the content and understanding that when everybody zigs, you have to zag. So if everybody's in the DM saying, hey, what's your goal? Where are you struggling? Completely valid questions, completely valid. But if if somebody, let's say Cristiano Ronaldo, for any football fans, right? If Cristiano Ronaldo, or maybe Messi's your favorite, is in my DMs and he's saying to me, which side of the wing do you like to run on? What's your troubles when it comes to dribbling? What troubles are you having with crossing the ball? And I'm not sure if you're a football fan, Patrick, but stay with me here. I'm going to answer them because they have authority over me. Now, if somebody I don't even know, I don't like, I don't trust, and I've never seen them asks me that stuff, I'm going to think, well, who the hell are you and why are you asking? It just wouldn't make sense. So the content allows people to qualify further as well, which is a really key part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you made an important point that maybe it's useful for our audience to hear, is that it appears that when you are qualifying this way, you are almost purposely rejecting a lot of people, which is fascinating because I often see entrepreneurs struggle with this problem of scarcity, right? Or if I niche down too much, I'm not going to find anybody. Or if I say no to this person that obviously is not a good fit, when am I going to get another sales call, right? And so basically, like my next question off of that would be like, how do you deal with that? Like, having had clients struggle with this scarcity, how do you help them?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point, and one of those things comes to kind of the unique mechanism that we use. Because I'm not only selling my high ticket offer, we don't have that scarcity problem. So think about it this way. Let's say a trainer, I'm going to use that personal trainer analogy maybe quite a bit. Let's say a trainer has their one-on-one coaching where they help people in the gym, in person. And let's say they also have a diet plan. And let's say that they also have an online training program, which is maybe video modules. Now, the people who they're going to work with one-on-one, who's paying that high ticket price, they want to make sure they can absolutely get that person results because that person's paying a lot of money. That person's investing in them. So just because somebody isn't qualified to work at that high ticket level with us, we may have other things to offer them as well, which is what most coaches don't do. So if I understand somebody doesn't have they're just not ready. They're just not ready to take that leap. They're not ready to really fully commit. Maybe they're newer in the game. Maybe they've been burned from a few programs, and maybe they just need a little strategy to get going. I don't mind rejecting them as a high ticket prospect, but they can maybe pick up something else from us. So we can still monetize. So I don't have any scarcity because I'm still going to monetize and help that person. And maybe that person just needs to go through a smaller program or something just to get the wheels turning first if they're really a beginner. And once they've gone through that and get some results, maybe at that point they're going to be a fit for a high ticket offer. So that's how we reduce that scarcity, because we do have different ways to monetize as well. And before we had those, I was kind of guilty of that. I was bringing people on who weren't really qualified and I'd sell them and I'd realize, well, hey, this isn't the best offer for this person. It's like trying to sell, my analogies, man, your audience are going to love it or hate it. Like you've probably been in a shop before and you try on a piece of clothing and you ask the sales associate, hey, does this fit me? They say, yeah, it fits great. Meanwhile, it's 2 sizes too big for you. It doesn't bloody fit. So we don't want to try and put a round peg in a square hole. We don't want to fit, or is it square peg in a round hole? We don't want to try and fit people to that. I only want to fit people for where it's actually going to benefit them the most. So if I only bring on 7 high ticket clients in the month, it's no problem because the other people are going to fit here or are going to fit here. So that's how we do it without having that scarcity around it.
That is very, very useful. And what I like about that is the practicality. Like, you talk a lot about like, the behavior and the mindset, but at the same time, you have these like processes like are just mind blowing. You go like, you know what? I have a very practical way to fix this. Yeah, I thought you would be probably talking about like making like customers, the client come to their senses, knowing, hey, dude, like there are like 7 billion people in the world. That's something that I hear a lot and I hate it. But but you actually have a process for getting rid of that scarcity feeling, which is great. So
yeah, and so just to add to that, Patrick, as well,
yeah,
a lot of people, they will do false disqualification. They will try and use lines to try and disqualify people. So people come back and say, no, 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 I want it. I'm genuinely only looking for the right people. Again, because I don't want to put somebody in the wrong car for them. I don't want to put somebody in the wrong program for them. Now, some of the things we do, people do come back and say, no, 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 I am a fit, I'm a fit. And some people do actually fit into our program that way. But we're not doing it to use any kind of reverse psychology. It's more to find out, if I could say akin to a quiz, where should this person be so we can fit them in the right place for them.
100%. And that takes me to some other very interesting topic when it comes to qualification. And that is the role of the salesperson. Do you have closers? How does that work for you?
So I've had closers in the past. Currently, I'm closing my own calls. And a lot of that is in large part to what we've been doing with the pre-qualification process, because now prospects are heavily qualified or disqualified. So everybody we get on the call with, they already know who I am. They've seen a bunch of my content. They know our processes. They know our conversion systems. They know how the process works. They know what it looks like when we're going to work together. And so only the most qualified people come on our calendar. And so that's actually freed up a lot of time and increased our close rate. So a long-winded answer to your question, mate. I'm doing the closing for my own deals right now.
That's great. And that's sort of my way of doing things. I find that a lot of the, experts who are going all the way to like 7 figures or even 8 figures, they have big teams, a little too big, in my opinion. Like, profitability problem is pretty huge. Like the way they're putting down, they're willing to just give up 30% or more of every sale just to, like not being a sales call themselves. I think it's pretty crazy. And the problem another problem that creates is this qualification problem. To me, honestly, I'm very like anti commission work. Like I've always hated it, and now that I know it better, I hate it more. And so what would you say, like, for example, if you're working with a client, they say, oh, you know what, I have like few closers, like, or I'm never gonna go on a sales call. Like, do you see like this potential threat to, having these people motivated by commission, close the wrong people?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I think this is going to be a good conversation because we're on a little bit different sides of the equation here. So I am a fan of commission work, but I also see the potential downsides as well. Now, if we break that loaded question into 2 parts, one, do I see any potential negative effects from people not taking their own sales calls? I don't think that's bad. I do think people should remove themselves from sales if and when they can. I don't think there's any point doing it too early. If somebody really enjoys it, absolutely keep doing it. And if somebody's finding they have way too many calls and they're not able to work on the business, there is definitely a time and place to remove oneself from the sales calls. So I do think that's good. And I have clients who close all the deals themselves. I have clients who have closers as well. So I don't think there's any one size fits all. It really depends on the business model, really depends on what they're going for, depends on the profitability level, and depends on kind of the time freedom aspect they want in their business and what they're looking to do with the free time. Maybe they're working on other parts of the business. Maybe they have an active social life. Maybe they just don't want to work as much, or maybe they have other businesses. So that's kind of my thought on whether people have closers or do the closing themselves. In terms of commissioned closers, they need to be trained very well. You need to find very ethical people for that who are not going to just enroll the wrong people. And it is tough because people are incentivized by the commissions as well. So I really think that comes down to a case-by-case basis, but I would actually place more fault on the coach then, because the majority of people coming in should be qualified very heavily, to where obviously we get some people on the call that are not a fit. It's inevitable, but very, very few. The people we get on the call, they are budget qualified, so we're not forcing their hand to make a financial decision they can't. So they're budget qualified, they're intent qualified, they want the outcome, they know what kind of work goes into it, they know our processes, they know, like, and trust me, they see me as an authority figure, at least I hope. They see all these things. So they're not going to come to the call and it's like, well, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. And then we have to say, oh, no, don't worry, it'll be fine. Everybody's already pre-qualified in that case. So there will still be some people who aren't a fit. We're just trying to, at that point, look for the real red flags, the people that are not going to do the work, the people that might complain too much, or the people that even say they're going to do it, but you can see they're not going to do the work. And that's not for me or any team members to judge. That's just for us to point out. And if they say they're going to do it, then absolutely, we're going to best to help them. We're going to help them as best we can. But that's kind of the thing with the commission salespeople. You can't win 100% of the time. You're going to bring on bad clients. It's going to happen. Then some people have some things like refund policies in place, or where a client can cancel at some point, or we've even in the past refunded clients voluntarily just because, hey, it's not a good fit. It's not worth the mental energy and strain. But that said, we're not going to give up on clients unnecessarily as well. So it's a bit of a loaded question there, but
It
hopefully
is.
some of that, a bit like, yeah, it's one of those things you got to get in the trenches and see what works for you. And you only see that by doing volume of data. A lot of times I'll have people ask questions like that, and I'll say, okay, great. Have you run it through 100 sales calls? And they'll say no. I'll say, well, you don't have any real data then. So if you run 100 sales calls and this happened once or twice, it's statistically insignificant, just 1 out of 100. You got to kind of look on a law of large numbers aspect. Yeah, that's probably the best thing someone can do.
I see. So yeah, you're definitely a systems person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like you own it. Like that's who you are. So no, I thought that was super super helpful. And I wanted to ask you another question because you said that sometimes it's inevitable, right, to attract and close the wrong person. You also said that you like are very very careful about how you put out your content and how people resonate or don't resonate. So by the time they get to a sales call, even if it's a team member, like the chances of them being actually like good fit are very high already. So now my question goes to, you said that you do have like systems in place, such as refunds or other probably types of like guarantees, but has this ever happened to you where you brought in a person that seemed to be the perfect fit, but it didn't work out? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, I'm having to think back. I'm sure it's happened. At the end of the day, I look at things on both sides. We can do everything in our power as the business owner to attract the right people. Now, if somebody wants to buy, I mean, barring any complete red flags, if somebody wants to buy and they seem like a decent fit, I'm not going to stop them from buying. That's their prerogative as a client. They can absolutely do that as a customer, as a client. And if it doesn't work out, there have been times, yeah, absolutely. And sorry, what was your question about? Like, what did we do about it? Or
Yes, what you did about it?
yeah, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Nobody's going to have 100% track record. What we do then is we look at why it's not working out. Again, I look at business from data and analytics, and I look at it really as where are the leaks coming in. So if I see it's not working with somebody, why is it not working with that person? Is it adherence to the call times? Is it that they're not taking action? Is it that they might be overthinking things and second guessing themselves? And so what we do is we lean into what that person needs. If somebody is very KPI and metrics and data driven, we're going to see and we're going to stay on top of their KPIs and their metrics. If somebody is very accountability driven, we're going to increase the accountability. So we check in with clients, we stay on them, but we might put that into like daily accountability. We're going to meet each client where they're at. And so we've had some times like that where it does end up working out because we'll just lean into that. We'll maybe say, okay, and I do mention accountability. Accountability does seem to be one of the main ones, actually, with most people. Just like anything in life, I go to the gym, and as much as I try and be disciplined, and I think of myself as a disciplined person, when my friend texts me and say, "Hey, why aren't you at the gym?" I'm there. So accountability is probably the main way. And then just really trying to understand people, because I know I've been in those situations myself. I try and think, why is somebody not taking the action? That's usually why they're not getting the result. They're not taking the action. And if they're not taking the action, it's either A, they don't know how, B, they're nervous, C, they're embarrassed, D, they're overwhelmed, or like E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and a whole myriad of other things. But we try and look at the few main ones. And those four I mentioned are some of the big ones, like they don't know how or they're embarrassed. So we try and lean into that and gently prod them and try and see like what is the reason that they're not taking the action? Is something not feeling congruent with them? Is something overwhelming them? Is something making them fearful of showing up on camera? Are they embarrassed about something? And so when you can really break through to those reasons and overcome those reasons, that's when people can take action and things can work out.
Amazing. So you ask yourself why. That's a great starting point. And I do say this in my content, in my, and, like trainings where, because I'm very, very like strict, hard on putting the blame on the client. Like to me, like you should never put the blame on the client. We may not fully agree on that, but that's my take on things. And I always say, don't blame, ask why, right? And that's because blame is like end of conversation. Why is more about, okay, let's get curious, right? What's happening here? And that's how you're going to find an answer, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective, because even if it is 100% the client's fault or 100% the coach's fault, assigning blame doesn't really do any good. And so I've seen times where, quite frankly, it is the coach's fault, or quite frankly, is the client's fault. But our goal is to help them get results, right? So I think assigning blame doesn't really help, but trying to dig deeper and think why and try and come up with a resolution. And sometimes there is no resolution, right? But even if we can save 1 or 2 or 3 clients and help them get a result, it's well worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this has been great. I wonder if we can continue, developing these like qualifying process things. So let's take the opposite approach. You've told me a lot about how you do things, and I really appreciate it. But tell me some of the things that you most criticize about the way others qualify people.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, I don't have too many criticisms. I mean, everybody has their own business, but some improvements I could say from what I've seen is many people being inefficient with the qualification process. They are not qualifying people. They are not budget qualifying. They are not intent qualifying. They're just taking a call with anybody, which at the start of the business, I quite understand. But as a business owner develops and grows and scales, you want to have those qualification processes in place to protect, your own time, but also to help the client as best as possible. And I find most people, they don't do enough in their content. The content can be great to pre-qualify. And if you think back to, Patrick, when you've invested in a program, or I can even say for myself, I pretty much knew I was going to buy before I even got the call. Like I came to the call and my credit card's in my back pocket. I already know what's going to happen. I already know I'm going to buy. And same with when people come to me. It's such a seamless process that's like, okay, great, so let's get you started. And then we just finalize the transaction. And so I think the more people can do ahead of time, I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's the more you do on the front end, the less you have to do on the back end. It's like building a solid foundation to prevent the house from falling down. I'd rather do the work on the front end so that on the back end, we have highly qualified prospects rather than trying to really hard sell everybody on the back end. And that's when you end up bringing on more wrong clients, I find. When you do the right work on the front end, you tend to get more of the right clients on the back end.
Perfect. And it's really cool how you put it all together, because you start thinking about the fulfillment from the very beginning, even before they know who you are. And then as you build out the content and then the forms and the qualifying questions, you are still thinking about that fulfillment. And one thing that I am very critical about when it comes to mainstream marketing is that it almost seems that a lot of things are sort of gone after people buy. You know what? We exchange money. You heard me because I was justifying your failures, and now that you fail with my stuff, I'm not justifying you anymore. That kind of stuff, right? But it looks like you go really deep. Like I can see that you have a very like big picture, kind of perspective, which is great. And yeah, so I wanted to ask you about something else, actually, not super related with this qualifying thing, which I'm very very pleased to hear. And that is, where is the heart of your business? Why do you do what you
do? Why do I do what I do? It's interesting because sometimes I think we're all a bit crazy. Like, why do we keep doing this? A lot of the times we don't need to do as much as we do. For me personally, I struggled in online business for a long time. Many people may not know that. For the first 6 years, when I started an online business, when I was doing affiliate marketing, I struggled badly. I was paying for every single course I could find, seminar, flights, hotels, training, and I went tens of thousands of dollars into debt. And I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. It's like, honestly, people say there is no wasted time. I do feel like I wasted a lot of time going through the wrong things. And those are some things I wish I could undo. So I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. And also, I feel like if I found something that works for me and has worked for a lot of clients, it's going to work for a lot more people as well. And that's why I'm very systems and process driven. So we can identify if something's working, great, we double down on it. If it's not working, let's take out the magnifying glass. Let's see what piece of it is not working. Let's fix that piece. Then we zoom out and then things should work. And then we can identify the next constraint. That's pretty much the way I operate. That's why I do what I do. I don't want anybody else to go through that. And also from a bigger picture, the majority of people starting online businesses, it's because they want to do what they love. It's because they want to get out of a 9 to 5. It's because they want to make the income that's really going to make them happy. They want to live life on their own terms. They want to have some freedom. And unfortunately, 95%, if not more, of people who start that are never going to achieve that. And if I can play my part in helping some people do that, some more people, that's what I'm going to do.
Right. That's very passionate. I really like these, don't go through the pain that I've gone through. Like super altruistic like mission. And now let's get a little bit deeper, maybe more uncomfortable. What was it like to be the Kay who is not this super successful consultant? I hope I'm not bragging too much on your behalf.
Yeah. You mean like before I was, doing well in my business and things like that?
Exactly. So what was it like more in a like a day-to-day thing, or this like internal struggle, like more of that?
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. People say don't beat yourself up when you're not getting the results you want. I beat myself up a lot. And everyone's different, but I might just have very, very high expectations of myself. And I still do that in different areas of my life. But I find as long as I grow from it and learn from it, it's good. So when I wasn't having the success, it was a struggle between really feeling like I can do this. I knew I could do it, and I just wasn't having the results I wanted, but also knowing that having to look at it from an analytical and objective level and realizing I'm not getting the results because I'm not doing something. There's something I'm not doing right. So putting my ego aside and just analyzing, what am I not doing right? What could I be doing more of? What am I not doing optimally? And trying to look at that, and even asking people and taking their opinions and saying, hey, don't hold back. What am I doing well? And what am I doing really rubbish? Like, tell me what is really bad that I can fix. And sometimes it hurt. Sometimes it bloody hurt. But I had to look at that, and I had to look at myself and say, okay, I'm not becoming the person who can get these results. And sometimes it was business driven. Sometimes it was things outside of business. Sometimes it was the mental thought. Sometimes it was the diet. Sometimes it was the environment. Sometimes it was the other habits I had in my life that were manifesting into my business. Like, I haven't been the most organized person at times, and I found that disorganization bled into my business. And so how can I have a successful business when it's all over the place? So I had to dial back a bit and look at things in my personal life and start to fix some of those as well. And bit by bit, everything started to work. So when content wasn't great, I had to think, well, okay, I'm rubbish on camera. How do I improve this? And lo and behold, after like 100, 200, 300 videos, things started to flow more naturally. I'm still not great at it, but I've come a long way. Or even on sales calls, nervous as hell. Like when I would get on a sales call, my shirt would just be soaked. It'd be like I was just gone swimming. But I had to do that over and over again to build that competence, which led into the confidence, which led into the results.
There's a very interesting blend of emotions and logic at play here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can totally agree on that. So no, that is, thanks for sharing that. I thought that was, deep and, very real. And yes, a lot of us, go through these struggles. I remember beating myself up for, really bad. And I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that we are not fully aware of what we are expecting. So there's a difference between, you did mention both expectations and high standards. And I think both are at play at the same time. So expectations is thinking that doing something is going to get you that other something. and often things don't work out, right? But at the same time, you have these standards things where you say, you know what, I want to do things right. I want to be better. I want to do fantastic work. I want to like feel proud of what I'm doing, right? That's where the high standards play. And sometimes when you are in this entrepreneurial journey, which I refer to as one of the paths of uncertainty,
Yeah.
things, your best intentions may not bring the outcomes that you're looking
Sometimes that's the beautiful thing about business. Again, I'm very analytical. You look at data feedback. I just look at why didn't something work? What can I do different? If that didn't work, what can I tweak? And eventually you get there, right? Eventually you're gonna forage, you're gonna find your way through that trail. And that's what makes it interesting. Honestly, I know we'd all love if millions of dollars just fell on our laps, but would we really? Like, would you don't really appreciate what you don't work hard for? So I'm grateful for all the challenges. Just have to, make sure we overcome them.
it's true. I think it's uh, loaded with more meaning because it was hard. You had to work a lot, and that you grew, that you became another person along the way. And you said, "I did this," right?
Mm.
And simply saying that you got $1 million like overnight, it's a story that's gonna die in 2 minutes.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So there is one last thing that I wanted to touch for, which you brought up as you were telling your story. And you said that I really like what you said when you said that you asked for other people's feedback and advice. And you said, look, even if it's horrible, tell me. And I'd like to know how that translates to the way you coach your clients. Because if I was you, I think I would love to see my clients tell me, hey, Kay, like, what is it that I'm doing so bad? Tell me.
Yeah. I'm pretty unfiltered, and I let people know at the beginning, like, I'm not here to be your friend, right? I'm here to get you results. So if you want me to just pat you on the head and coddle you're probably in the wrong place. Like my outcome is to help people get results. I'm going to hurt some feelings. I'm going to crack some eggshells, but I also think that's part of learning and developing as an entrepreneur, because if people can't take it from their coach, trust me, I've had way worse said by like random people on the internet. It's going to happen. And so if somebody can put their ego aside and focus on what they need to do, that's the mark of somebody who's going to be successful. You have to be able to control your emotions. And I think that's actually more than skills, it's emotional control. If you can do the things you need to do, if you can take feedback without feeling personally attacked for it, and if you can just execute and change, it's like, to go back to the gym analogy, your body doesn't care that you don't like being in a calorie deficit. Tough luck. You have to be if you want to lose weight. Your body doesn't care if you don't want to lift heavier weights, or if somebody says to you, a coach says, hey, you're not lifting heavy enough weights. And you say, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. It doesn't care. It's just inputs to outputs. And that's how I like my clients. Obviously, we're all human beings. We're our feelings and emotions. But at the end of the day, let's put that all outside the ring for a minute. We can be friends after. When it comes to business, and this might trigger a few people, I look at, when you're a business mate, you're at war every day. You're going to war every day. You're in a battlefield. This isn't something friendly and just sunshine and rainbows. You are in a battlefield. You have to do what it takes to win that battle. And you can step out temporarily and look at business from your personal life, but you're at war every day. If you really want to build an amazing business, if you just want to build a cute little business, have a client here, client there, a couple $1,000s here, fair enough. But if you actually want to build something of substance, it takes optimization, and it really is like going to war every day.
That was pretty memorable, and I agree. I think that if we were to be clear, this probably goes back to the expectations and the qualifications in a tiny way, where we have to know at some degree what we're getting ourselves into. And this is something that I always say in these exact words when I am telling my story live, right? Or, well, I do webinars and I do tell my story, and I say, when I was getting into entrepreneurship, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I think that would be most useful for people who are not, have taken programs and don't finish them, or are starting online businesses. And they have to know a little better, not the full picture. Maybe that would scare them off too much. but at least, that little bit saying, look, it's not all straightforward. It's not, ABC and you're done. It's gonna, take some disappointment. It's gonna take some failure, but those failures and disappointments are exactly what will set you on the right path, right? It's a matter of adapting, properly to that. By properly, I mean not beating yourself up, among other things.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always going to be goods and bads of it, right? And there's going to be some things that look too easy, something looks hard. At the end of the day, we're all on our own journey, and we find, I'm going to have some natural and nurtured strengths that you're not going to have. You're going to have many natural and nurtured strengths that I'm not going to have. And it's just, it's part of the game, man. You got to just have like love for this game, love for this war, and just go out and execute.
That's it. Great. So my last question is, do you have something that you would want our viewers to remember? Like if you were only to tell them like your one paragraph, your like, remember this for life, what would it be?
Oh, put me on the spot, mate. It's really hard to say one for life, but I would say one thing that's going to serve, is going to go along the lines of data and feedback, is pretty much just get started. So whether it's starting your business, whether it's starting that YouTube channel, whether it's starting to do reels, whether it's, a lot of people are not fond of this, but it works as well, whether it's cold outreach, whether it's being consistent with a Facebook group, whatever it is, just go out and give it your all. Get started. You're gonna mess it up, mate. You're gonna bugger it up royally. It's part of the game. You have to go through that messing it up phase. Go out there, execute and implement. You will get better as you go, and just have that mindset of you're going to outlast everybody. If you do anything, and I'm sure, Patrick, you can agree with this, look at the amount of coaches who have a Facebook group. How many of their Facebook groups, after 2-3 months, they give up? Or they start posting every week a video and then they stop. Or they start doing something, a YouTube video once a week, and then they stop. Or whatever it is, and then they give up. The people who didn't give up, it's pretty much impossible not to succeed. Because 95% of people are going to give up. I've seen this. If you just keep going, you will outlast and you will win. You'll just win, as long as you're not continually doing the wrong thing. But as long as you do that and then take the data and feedback that I talked about and iterate and make each iteration better, you're absolutely going to smash it. It's not going to happen that you're going to succeed.
Beautiful. Yes, that's definitely worth remembering. Thank you, Kay. I thought that was extremely important, and stay in the game, for a long time. Like just by not giving up ever, you will have better results than 95% of those who are trying and quitting constantly.
It's inevitable. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And speaking of getting started, I thought that anyone who's watching this should, take note of, Kay's qualifying process. I thought it was really great. The budget, the intention, the, behavior, like, take notes and take action, right? Like we said, implement right away, and just go out there and fail like the best. Fail like a champion.
That's it.
All right, Kate, thank you so much for coming. You really shared a ton of incredible value, and this was Client Success Secrets interview edition with Kay Somji, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, guys. See you.